Welcome back. While financial stress remains a reality for many South Africans, new findings from the 2025 DebtBusters Money Stress Tracker shows that the pressure may be easing slightly. The report, which surveyed over 27,000 people, reveals that 70% are still feeling money stress, but that's down from previous years. And to talk us through the key takeaways and what this means for financial well-being in the country is Executive Head of DebtBusters, Benay Sager. Benay, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. So over the past 3 years or so, financial stress levels have remained high. And looking at some of the economic indicators, it would suggest that things would have somewhat improved, right? From 2023 to 2024, inflation started declining, and there have also been some rate cuts coming through. Does the survey show that, right? I guess that we are seeing lower levels of financial stress, but they are still pretty high.
Yeah, and I think at this stage we will take any improvement we can get as a country. I think last year, as you said, when we ran the survey, same survey for the last 4 years, and last year the percentage of people who told us they were financially anxious or stressed was 75%. This year, it's 70%. 2 years ago, which I would argue 2023 was our worst year, was 78%. That was in the middle of, long load shedding times and all of that. So we're very happy to see it come down. Now, having said that, it's still 7 out of 10 survey respondents who are telling us that they're financially stressed. So we're definitely not out of the woods.
And what are individuals stressing about, Benay? Is it the inability to save, or maybe not knowing if their salaries can make it to the end of the month?
Yeah, I think, the number one worry is that they have struggled to make debt repayments at the end of the month. That's been consistently the theme for the last 4 years. And somewhere between 30 to 40% of the people, that's the number one worry that they have. And it ranges from that to all the way to longer term things, such as I need to put some money away for my retirement, but I don't know how I'm going to find the money. What we've seen this year is, compared to the last 3 years, for the first time, there was some mental capacity and some space for particularly those age 45 and older to think a little bit about, okay, maybe I need to put some money away for retirement. Whereas in the years past, all the concerns were dominated completely by short-term stuff. I don't know how I'm going to put food on the table. I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. So I think it's good to see that shift. Having said that, I think what we see is this year, 3 groups of individuals as most stressed. Women, has been the case for the last several years. They carry a lot of the burdens of the households and all of that. Number 2 group is those taking home 20,000 Rand or more. And this is the group that tends to borrow more because they qualify more credit and tend to overstretch themselves from time to time. And the 3rd group was those over the age of 45. So, if you happen to be at the intersection of all those 3 groups, chances are you're probably feeling a lot of strain.
And let's talk about that feeling of being anxious and stressed, and how that then spills over to different parts of your life, your work life, your personal life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, if you go back, when the DebtBusters team was thinking about the survey in 2022, the number one question we wanted to answer was, does money stress or debt stress actually makes you stress in other facets of life? Does it cause stress in other parts of your life, or is it the other way around? And, the way that we designed the survey, it actually gives us glimpses. So we said at the beginning of the conversation that 7 out of 10 survey respondents told us they're financially stretched or stressed. Now, of that population, 91% of them said that it's also creating stress in their home life, which is extremely high. So it's definitely carrying over to that. It's also carrying over to their work life. A substantial portion of them also told us that they are feeling more stress at work as a result of finances. And lastly, also from a health perspective. So we know all of these things are related to each other. And I think, it's important for us to see in the data exactly as we have over the last few years.
And, you touched on at the top that individuals are starting to take retirement a bit more seriously. Does this perhaps have anything to do with the two-part system, considering that the word retirement and savings was really being pushed even through the media?
Yeah, I mean, if that's a byproduct of the two-pot retirement system, and if more money is going to be plowed into it, that's great. I think our experience is that part of the reason why fewer individuals said they were financially stressed is actually some of them have access to two-pot retirement system, however little it might be, and they are feeling like now they've got some of the stuff under control. Now, of course, I think for the long term, the worry is what does happen to that money? Does it get replaced or not? And I think it's still early to know. But definitely, anytime we can have conversations with the word retirement in a good way, we would love to have that conversation. It's very important.
And let's talk about, or rather zoom in further on just the demographics and what the differences in debt stress and credit confidence between, I guess, spanning across generations. So what are we seeing when it comes to the millennials, and what are we seeing when it comes to the Gen Zs?
Yeah, so the people that seem to be most straight with finances, perhaps this is not surprising, is the middle age group, so 35 to 44. And that's the age where we all tend to accumulate assets. We probably have a mortgage, probably have a finance vehicle, and you are supporting yourself, your kids, and sometimes your parents. We certainly saw that. When you look at the younger population, particularly those under the age of 25, their primary concern is finding the right job, finding a job. I think many of them are really trying hard, to find the right, job and get to a better paying job, I should say. I think many of them told us that they are also trying to cut back on their monthly spending by sticking to a budget, which is great to see. And, as we know, most of the habits form really, really early. So if we can continue on that path, we certainly have. On the other end of the spectrum, as we get older, our primary concern is making sure that we have enough money for retirement. The one thing that we picked up this year, which was different than years past, though, was electricity cost was mentioned as a rising burden by about 7 to 10% of the participants across all age groups. So, we had many years of double-digit electricity cost rises, and I think that's really starting to bite into our pockets.
And you mentioned something important there about the younger generation starting to budget more and looking at ways they can access more money to live better lives. And with that being said, right, from those findings, are there indications, right, that South African citizens are spending less, are budgeting more, are saving more?
So I think there are indications that we are definitely, we've actually got a bit of a fatigue when it comes to actually trying to cut costs. I think we've had many years of this, really tightening our belts. I would argue since 2015 or so, it's been very difficult. And this is driven by a few factors. One, average incomes haven't really risen at the same rate as inflation, as we know. We've been really lagging behind. From a real earnings perspective, we're really behind. But what we're also seeing is this rising ability and willingness to try to make extra money. So we've heard very interesting things in terms of content creation online, selling personal items, asking family for help, and other ways. I think the younger generation are far more likely, probably 1.5 times more likely to basically try to sell things and create extra content. So I think that's going to be very interesting to see. And as you say, if we continue to create and stick to those budgets, in 10 to 15 years' time, perhaps we have a different outlook in terms of debt. We also know that younger generations are less likely to own things in terms of houses and cars. This is a global trend. It's not just South Africa. So I think, a combination of all of these social factors, it may leave us in a place that is very different than we are today in 10 years' time.
I love some of those insights because they also speak to the hustling culture in the country, as well as just the growth we've been seeing in the gig economy. Benay, thanks so much. Unfortunately, we have to leave it there. Thanks so much for your time and just unpacking that survey for us in greater detail. Now, that was Executive Head at DebtBusters, Benay Sager.